Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Music is My Business podcast, another live Q&A, asking questions, answering questions, and just sharing knowledge on sync licensing, music production, and music business. I'm super excited to be back. I almost forgot how to stream because I took some time off for the holidays and going into the new year, but I think I got the hang of it again, so I'm super excited to be back. I have a special guest that I'm going to share with you in a few. Super excited. We're going to dig into royalties, PRO, all the confusion of, that just comes with that. So we're going to unpack a lot of that stuff. Shout out to the Sync Producer Hub members in the building. I see you all. We got Larry, we got James, we got Wendy, Ray, Norvie made the beat. I see you. Big Sushi Man, I see you, man. If you guys have questions at any point, just drop them in the chat, and we'll try and pull them up and answer them. So, yeah, also a big night for me personally because my Buckeyes are playing Texas. We're about to beat Texas. We're about to win the national championship, just so y'all know. I'm just putting that out there because right now we're looking quite unstoppable. So let's start off by sharing some wins from the Sync Producer Hub community. We're starting the year off strong already. A couple days ago, James shared that he just locked in his first 2025 music library contract. He says, "Good day, beautiful people. I signed my first 2025 music library contract and received an official email today with the company's first quarter list of briefs with an S. That means multiple opportunities." He said the first line of their email was, "Hi, James. Happy New Year. We're excited to send you the first set of 2025 briefs, 5 different affiliate libraries that they work with. We'd love for you to get involved. Their list of briefs are pretty extensive and diverse, but there's a few briefs that fit my style of writing. Let's grow." I love it. Congratulations to my guy, James. He's out here winning. We got Vincent Jewell with a new placement, neoclassical trailer music. "What an incredible start to 2025, he says. "I just found out that my song Hidden Treasure from my neoclassical trailer music album Lost Relics, released via BMG Production Music, has already secured a sync placement so soon after its release." Come on, let's go. "The track was featured during the, Rally Dakar, I'm sure I just butchered that, 2025, broadcasted on Eurosport 1 in the UK and across several other countries through Eurosport's international partnerships." That's dope. "Feeling beyond grateful for this amazing opportunity and motivated to keep the momentum going. Here's to more wins and making 2025 unforgettable." Let's see. Another win from Vincent. "Had an awesome call yesterday with the head from a library I pitched some music to. They love my stuff, want to sign the songs and add me to their roster of composers for custom music and projects. Honestly, so stoked to be a part of this community. Even though I was already into sync licensing and had placements before, there's always more to learn, and seeing others crush it is crazy motivating. This is just the beginning, so much more on the way." Let's go. I love it. Let's see. I think that catches us up. It is at least for 2025. Wait, Marshawn closed out. This was like the end of 2024 going into 2025. He had 4 placements on different episodes of Raising Fame, it looks like, on I can't see, on TV1. He says closing out year 2024 with some soon to be paid royalties in 25. "Royalties take time, but keep building, folks. Keep grinding, collab with others when you can, network and keep building, and keep submitting to libraries." Basically just encouraging everybody. He says, "I was blessed to get 4 collab placements on this great show with my bro Elijah. Amped and excited for 2025, working on new tracks for some new submissions. Let's go." So that's fire, man. I love to see it. It motivates me. It inspires me. So let's get it. If you're not a part of Sync Producer Hub, definitely go to syncproducerhub.com. Check it out and get locked in with a dope community of producers who are just making it happen, man. Action takers are money makers. So without further ado, I want to introduce my guy, Jarrid. Lozano. I believe that's how you pronounce it. You can correct me if I just butchered your name, bro. But Jarrid is from Seesack. He is the director of International Royalty. My guy, Jarrid. What's up, man? How you feeling?
How's it going? How's it going? Thanks for having me on. Lezcano. Yeah, but it's
Lezcano.
okay, man. It's
My
it's
bad.
not an easy one to pronounce.
Awesome. Well, thank you, man. I appreciate you having me. We had a chance to link up at the Shades of Sync conference. Seesack was one of our partners and supporters in that. You and Diane. It was just great to have you guys in the building, and we were just chopping it up, man, and just having great conversation and just talking about all things royalties and PROs and collections and like what that looks like behind the scenes. And yeah, just in our conversation, I was like, bro, like you need to come and just chop it up with my community because you guys just gave so much insight into everything that goes on. So tell the people about you, what you do with CSAC, kind of your role, and then we'll just kind of go from there.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, international royalties. That's the nature of what I work with on a daily basis. I've been with CSEC now for almost 15 years now. Um, I'm originally from San Juan, Puerto Rico. That is home.
Nice.
Left my beautiful little island to get my foot in the door in the music industry and moved to Tennessee.
Okay.
Was in Nashville for a few years, got my foot in the door, and was blessed enough to get transferred down to Atlanta, where I really started to meet a lot of folks in the music industry, music community here in Atlanta. Of course, I already had a lot of my contacts in Nashville, but I really wanted to be down here and really explore the music industry in Atlanta itself. And then simultaneously, that's when all that film and TV was happening at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a huge, huge influence for me to come down here and really, as I like to say, spread my wings and learn even more about
Right.
this industry. Um, but yeah, international royalties is what I do. I've been doing that aspect of the music industry now for since 2018 now. It's really interesting how difficult it is to not just get paid, but to get paid properly
Mm-hmm.
around the world. I can't tell you how difficult it really is. I'm sure a lot of folks that have a lot of writers, composers that have placements around the world, as you just mentioned earlier. Your shout out, someone getting placements. It sounded like in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
Things like that are actually quite hard. They're not very
Wow.
easy to come by. So congrats to him in that achievement.
Yeah. That's yeah, it's interesting that you say that because you know, I talk to a lot of producers, especially just starting out, and there's always this anxiousness like when you hear about the placement, you learn about the placement, then you're like, okay, well, like when do I see royalties? When do those come in? Um what all has to happen from the time something is synced to picture and it's broadcasted to the time that we see it, you know, whether that's well, let's just say to the time we see it as a royalty check. What's some of the things that are like going on behind the scenes with a PRO for that to happen?
So behind the scenes, first and foremost, the most important thing is that you register that with your PRO. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it's important that you send that information, that data, to your PRO, because once it makes it to your PRO, then it goes into a database that's shared around the world. So we take that information, that song registration, and we upload it to a system that any PRO around the world can access and say, well, we just detected, this song on this commercial, but we don't know who we need to pay. So they go into this database and start looking. Okay, we this is the information that we know we have. Now we just need to find to where we need to send that money, who that songwriter is, and then ingest that information into their database, and that's how you get that payment coming towards you.
Mm,
Now, it really at time frame as how long does it take for from that performance for them to finally send that money over to your PRO and then that PRO paying you. It really depends on which PRO we're talking about.
okay.
Obviously, we have your major PROs that are in France, like SACEM, and Germany that you have GAMA, and then obviously in the UK you have PRS. Those are your kind of your major PROs around the world, and they're actually pretty good about turning that payment around and sending it out 6 months. It could be a year. In some cases, it could take up to 2 years.
Wow.
Again, it really all depends on that PRO, what part of the world it's being played. While here in the States and your majors, as I just mentioned, PROs, they have the capability of making those payouts fairly quickly.
Gotcha.
Whereas you have maybe a PRO in Honduras, for example, they're not as tech savvy or not as advanced, and it could take just a little bit longer for that payment to come through. And for the most part, and with those PROs, you're looking at about year up to 2 years.
Gotcha. And then is that like just locally, or is that with everything international as well? Is it like international stuff? Does that take a
That's
little bit longer to
international.
circle around?
If you're talking about domestic royalties, then it's a little bit different.
Okay.
That's way faster, way quicker.
Okay.
You're talking, anything domestically. You're talking in some cases 3 months and others 6 months, but it's a fairly quick turnaround.
I got you. Cool, cool. I was talking to a composer the other day, and he's kind of been he's been in this he's been in a situation very interesting. He's in a different country. If I'm not mistaken, I believe I want to say it's Colombia. I could be wrong. Don't hold me to that. But he's in a situation where like he they don't trust their PRO, I guess. For whatever reason, he's just like, yeah, there's been, there's reason to believe that things aren't being collected, or at least things aren't being paid out to them. So he's just like this amazingly talented producer is trying to, get his feet into sync,
Yeah.
but he's torn because he's just like, I live here. I know there's opportunities in the States. I know I'm supposed to register here locally, but I don't want to. So for somebody who's like in a situation like that, and this is kind of two questions. Do they have to go that route and register with their local PRO? And then the second question is that I get a lot is like, do you have to be individually registered with each pro in every country in order to collect royalties in that country? Or do you only have to be registered with your local PRO and then they kind of have their network and they collect on your behalf?
That's a very good question, actually. I'm going to reserve my comments about the Colombian society psycho.
Okay.
Um,
Fair enough.
I, by me reserving my comments, I hope that tells you everything you need to know. I will say this: for years before I took over international for Seesack, I used to receive emails with newspaper articles from composers in Colombian composers, complaining about the corruption in that society. I know there was a lot of turnover. I believe a new management and whatnot. Um, yes, it's hard to
Mm,
get properly paid in that country in
okay.
particular. Actually, South America as a whole, with a few exceptions here and there,
Mm,
is pretty hard.
wow.
Um, Brazil, not as hard as you would think. Actually, they got a few. They have a lot of societies actually in Brazil.
Okay.
I think about 6 or 7, if I'm
Oh
not
wow.
mistaken.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I heard they have like a strong industry there, like a
they
pretty
do.
big.
They do actually. They do. And it's only getting stronger from what I've
Mm-hmm.
seen in the last few years. And we partnered up with the society there named Abramus,
Mm-hmm.
which has done great. We've only seen great things from them. It's only gotten better. They have a really good team too. In that society that we correspond with, and they're very proactive.
Okay.
They communicate with us on a weekly basis, multiple times a week,
Okay.
asking for information, asking for data, because they're picking up performances and they may have some incomplete information. They want us to complete that information for them. So, but going back to Colombia, if you're living in a particular country, but you continue to be a U.S. citizen, right? Um, I encourage you to stay with your local society, with your ASCAP, with your BMI, with your Seesack. Um, but if you are going to be living in a particular country and you're going to be writing a lot there and your music is being played in that country a lot,
Mm-hmm.
I highly encourage you to open a sub publisher. Is what I would do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this way, you have direct membership with that local society first and
Okay.
foremost. You know,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
also a lot of the times your publishing money gets rolled up into your writer money,
Mm-hmm.
and it gets paid that way. Sort of like if you're self published, right?
I got you.
You
I
know,
got you.
that happens a lot on the foreign side on international royalties. The reason for that is a lot of folks, a lot of writers are self published.
Yeah.
They have their own publisher, so I highly encourage folks that if you know you're going to have, if you're living in Japan and your music is playing, that's where your music is being played the most, then
Mm-hmm.
absolutely open a sub publisher there, collect your publisher money locally right then,
Mm-hmm.
and then your writer shares will be sent to your home society anyway. Now, there is a catch to that. uh, you're getting hit with essentially you get hit with two admin fees
Mm-hmm.
as a writer, because
Okay.
the Japanese society, if your music is being played a lot in Japan, the Japanese society is going to take their admin fee. Then they're going to send that royalty payment to your local society. There's another admin fee that gets hit there,
Mm,
and then you get your money.
I see.
So that's kind of like a catch 22 there, but at the same time, there's certain tax treaties too that you get the benefit of from the U.S. government, and to avoid being taxed twice, essentially.
Gotcha.
So there's pros and cons to all of it.
Yeah.
But I if you know you're going to be in a country for an extended period of time, years,
Yeah.
I highly encourage folks to open a sub publisher there. Retain if you got your publisher in the U.S., keep that one, open a sub publisher in a different country, or enter into a sub publishing deal or co-pub deal,
Mm-hmm.
where a local publisher in that territory or in that country collects on your publisher's behalf,
Okay.
and then you can still collect that money. If you The only reason I even mentioned that route, because obviously if you open a publisher in Japan, for example,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to have to register with the government, pay taxes, pay things
True.
like that.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of, again, pros and cons. You have to weigh which ones are the best for you.
Gotcha. So if they
But
went, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, I was just going to mention, but no, you don't have to, as a writer, you don't have to join directly. It is your local PRO's responsibility to put that data out there so then they can collect that data and upload it into their system, and you receive your royalty check.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. So if they opened up the say like a publisher in the other country, or did a sub publishing deal with like their, I guess, their publishing company in that other country, does that, as far as their writer share, would they just register that writer share under the publisher company in the other country, or
No.
it would just still be the same, their same writer information with their local
Yeah, because it's essentially that sub publisher in that country, it's now their responsibility to register that content with the local society. That's part of that sub pub deal.
Okay,
Now,
okay,
if you don't have that deal, then that local society is going to look for that data in the data, in the shared database, to try to find out who they need to pay.
got you. Okay, got you. For the new people who are joining, man, we're talking with Jarrid. Jarrid's from Seesack. He is the director of International Royalties, and we're just chopping it up about things PRO, royalties, international royalties, obviously, and how we get paid on the back end, and in regards to, you know, getting our music placed in TV and film. So yeah, that's insightful. And it's crazy, man. Like, just how, I don't know, the world is massive, obviously, and it's crazy. Once the music gets out, it can spread all over the place. And you know, I had thoughts at one point of, because I have a publishing company technically, and then I started learning quickly. It was like, wait, how do you manage the admin of literally the entire world? And yeah, I quickly realized, okay, this is a lot. And just like you were saying, like, it's a lot that goes into just royalty collection and things like that. So I imagine, you know, PROs are using some type of, like, I don't know, like fingerprint technology, or like something that just kind of scans the airways for
They
music
are, yeah.
that's used. Like, what does that look like?
Same. I mean, each country has its own company they partner up with, or their own technology that they use.
Okay.
But no, absolutely, you're right. And there's not only that, but there's also a lot of other companies behind the scenes, that that are not a PRO. They
Hmm.
just do admin work, or things to that nature, where you know they're collecting this data, they're collecting these detects, as they call them,
Hmm.
and they'll send that information to the societies. There's always some company that's popping up, you know, with new technology, using either some sort of, as you just mentioned, fingerprint technology, either using uh, algorithms and whatnot. I've seen that. I've seen some companies pitch that idea. I've had meetings with companies that claim that they can monitor radio stations online,
Oh wow.
24/7, 365 days a year, all over the world.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, that sounds great, right? Get paid for every single song that plays, right?
Yeah.
The only problem to that is that means that licensing fee for those radio stations or networks, whatever, whatever the source is, that licensing fee just goes up exponentially,
Hmm.
because this is how writers get paid.
Yeah.
So if you're monitoring every single radio station, for example, in the United States, all the time, 365 days a year, 24/7, that means that we are going to have to charge radio stations even more money for that license.
Wow.
Yeah, and they're already pretty unhappy with their current rates that they already have to pay ASCAP, BMI, CSAC, and we all know how streaming has taken off. So,
Yeah.
yeah, radio stations are hurting a little bit on that front, unless you're, a giant like iHeartMedia or something like that.
Yeah.
Um,
So
but
they have to. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you
no,
off.
no, no, I was just going to say your smaller radio stations are struggling.
Wow. So they have to pay so let's to just take US for example, they have to pay ASCAP, BMI, and Seesack. Even if they don't know, like, say for example, a song was just 100% Seesack, right, represented. They still have to pay all three PROs, like those license fees, to be able to cover all the music they're using and playing.
That's correct. I mean, you have to do that. Otherwise, you would have to screen every song that you played, and you would have to
Makes
see,
sense.
search, CSAC's database, ASCAP's database, BMI's database, Global's database as well.
Wow.
You would have to search all those, make sure that you are covered under that blanket license for the song you're about to play.
Got
And
you.
but that's even if you did do that, that's actually quite difficult as well, because you could be a BMI rider for the last 5 years, but you just decided to switch to CSAC, for example. Now some of those songs have moved over to your CSAC catalog, while maybe some others stayed over at BMI or at ASCAP because there's a license in effect and they're still collecting royalties for those licenses.
Yep.
That song that you have is part of that licensing deal. So technically, they can't release that song yet because they're still, it's part of a license. And so you would have to continuously check. Oh, I'm about to play that song. Wait, am I covered for it? Can I do this? And maybe you thought, yeah, but I've played this song, hundreds and hundreds of times. I know I have the right license. Oh, but you didn't know that song just switched over to CSAC, and maybe you don't have that CSAC license. Well, now that's infringement. So,
Wow. You know what? That makes sense because like you literally like called out my exact situation. Like, so I was with BMI when I first started out, and then I moved to Atlanta, and I was always at like the CSAC office at some event or something like that, and ultimately got invited and joined CSAC. And there was, when I went and told BMI my plans, they're like, okay, yeah, that's great, but you have to now wait these additional months because I guess there was some type of window. So
yes.
does that tie into what you're speaking of, just to give them time to, I
No,
guess.
that's a different beast. That's your
Okay.
termination window. So
Okay.
if you're an ASCAP member, that termination window comes up every year.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a BMI rider, unless anything has changed in the last few years that I'm not aware of, but ASCAP, it's every year. BMI, if I'm not mistaken, was every 2,
Okay.
and then us here at CSAC, it's every 3.
Got you.
And so your window opens up 6 months before it renews, before your contract renews. So your contract renews automatically. And that
Okay.
window opens up 6 months before that contract renews, but then it closes 3 months before that contract renews. So you have a 3-month window
Wow.
to submit your termination request to your local society. And if you
Man.
miss that, and again, if you miss that window with ASCAP, then you got to wait another year. You miss that window with BMI, you got to wait 2. If you miss it with CSAT, you got to wait another 3.
Wow. Okay. That's crazy. Yeah, because at the time I had no idea. I had no idea. Luckily, I guess I didn't have. I was in that window, I guess, to where I didn't have to wait like basically another term or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I originally signed up, I just thought it was like like you can leave at any time. At least that's what I thought.
It's that fine print that we don't
Yep.
read. You
Yep.
know, I've been guilty of it many times. Especially those terms and conditions that you have to that you
Yep.
gotta that you gotta agree to if you want to use your Apple device, or if you want to use Spotify, if you want to use anything like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. It's crazy. So let me see. We got a question from Miguel here. I would share it on the screen, but I think yeah. So it's gonna. I'll just read it out. So it says, I've always had this question. I'm with ASCAP. Obviously, we sign up with our legal name, but ASCAP allows creation of pseudonyms,
Hmm.
and they apply an IPI number to those pseudonyms. That's when I added Miguel Sandre as a pseudonym. I used my pseudonym IPI for sync. I made a placement with a library from England. Does the royalty collection function the same with pseudonyms? I mean, it's tied to my legal name on ASCAP. How does
Yes.
that work?
Yes. So that pseudonym is actually also tied to your legal name.
Okay.
Um, so the IPI in the IPI system, which is monitored and uh, pretty much handled by the Swiss, the society in Switzerland, Suiza. So they maintain that and update it. Each local society has a person that updates the IPI system. So for example, when Miguel said I added the pseudonym to my legal name, so that goes into the IPI system. It gets assigned a different IPI name number because that identifies that pseudonym, but then that pseudonym is tied to your patronym.
Okay. And
So
then when he gets paid, it just routes all the way back
correct,
up to the. Okay.
correct. And then, for example, I'm sure ASCAP and BMI do the same, but at Seesack in our database, when you add a pseudonym, that all that goes into your account. So you got your patronym, then you got all your pseudonyms. I don't encourage having a lot of pseudonyms, please. It's hard enough to get paid in this industry. Adding a bunch of pseudonyms does not help.
Okay.
Add one, add two, leave it at that. I've seen in some cases five or six. Don't do that. Just
Gotcha.
it's just it's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I feel you. Yeah, it definitely seems hard enough to get paid as just your legal self sometimes. So,
I think Miguel says, "Yeah, I have two. Keep it at two, Miguel. Leave it there. Leave it there, man."
indeed, indeed. If you guys have any other questions, just drop them in the chat. But yeah, no, this is good. So we definitely have to talk about this, and we got into it a little bit. Every quarter get a royalty check. You see your typical, network television, cable television, and then you see this section. What is it? What is it called? Is it just? I think it's just called like digital something. And these are like the streaming royalties. Bro, it is literally the most vague information ever. And I asked people who are, affiliated with other PROs. I'm like, "Do you get any other additional information?" They're like, "Nope. It's probably less than what we get at CSAC." Like, what is that about? Like, you'll see Netflix, and I think I may see the title of the track, and
Hmm.
then 00 point whatever, or 0.003 cents or something. You know what I mean? And then that's it. Like, what insight, please?
It, so, are we talking about domestic in the U.S.? Or are we talking abroad?
Both. Like, I think both show up the same way. Like, they'll be separated by countries. So I'll see
Mhm.
like the
Yeah.
different countries. I'll see US, I'll see UK, I'll see
Honestly, in a lot of the cases, it's based on the deal that we have with the DSPs.
okay.
The deal that we have with YouTube or with Netflix. Believe it or not, some of these deals are there's very little that they allow us to share or do.
Mm.
They won't let you. They won't even give you the amount of streams that something has
Wow.
played. Yeah.
Cause that's
Uh,
what I was curious about. I was like, I would love to even just have that, just to see, just to, I don't know. I'm always curious. Like, okay, like how many streams did it take to get to this number?
yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
so you
Yeah.
guys can't. They don't even allow you to see
They
that.
don't even know. And I have this is my biggest issue too with international royalties. I'll have writers ask me, "Well, I got $300 and said it was streaming on Netflix, for example.
Hmm.
How many streams is that? I have no idea.
Man,
I have no idea, and it's because Netflix doesn't allow these societies to share that information.
wow, that's
Yes,
crazy. That's
it
crazy.
is. It's. I mean, you should be able to know where your music is being played and how many times.
Yeah.
But honestly, they don't want to share this information because they have. I mean, think about it. They have different deals with different PROs. So let's
Mm-hmm.
say, BMI, they got a licensing, Netflix got a licensing deal with BMI that, they have to pay, let's say, just to throw a number out there, $400,000 a year, right?
Okay.
And licensing fees to BMI. Now imagine if they started sharing all this, how many times things are actually being played,
Mm-hmm.
it means that licensing
That
fee
number's
goes
gonna
up.
go up. Yeah.
Numbers going to go up. As we just talked about this earlier with radio. Imagine if we detected every single radio station and every single song that's being played in that radio station. That license fee would just be astronomical.
Man.
It's either the radio station goes bankrupt or the PRO goes bankrupt. Which one is it going to be?
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah.
They do you think they will eventually pay more in streaming at some point?
I believe that will happen at some point in the future. Is it in the near future? Probably not. We all
Right.
know how how long things take to change in this, and especially in the U.S. And if it
Yeah.
typically if it doesn't happen here first, it doesn't happen anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
So unless you're an artist, where you're basically, this is one of the only a few countries that don't pay performance royalties to artists, unless the artist is a songwriter as well. So
Yeah.
which is a little thing, that we're what I think it's us, China, and maybe Vietnam. I don't know
Mm.
off the top of my head. I could be wrong on that, but I know
Yeah.
it's a very few amount of countries that, and we're one of them, that doesn't pay the artist for performance royalties.
That's interesting.
Hmm.
Because they're literally performing. Like literally.
Well, this
What's up
is
with?
this is why a lot of times they negotiate a deal. Like, you got a song, it's going to be placed, and like, okay, I'll record this song. Let's say it's Beyonce, for example.
Hmm.
Okay, Beyonce has agreed to record this song and put it on her next album, but she wants 20% of the royalties, of the performance royalties. 10% for her publisher, 10% for her writer. The reason she wants that is because otherwise she's not going to get that performance royalty.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, she'll get ticket sales, when she goes on tour, things like that.
Yeah.
But that's basically it.
Yeah. Got it.
Album sales, things like that.
Yeah.
She'll get mechanical royalties, but she won't get the performance.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah.
What's up with the movie theater thing in the States? Because if I'm not mistaken, movie theater, you don't get paid performance royalties from movie theaters, right? In the States?
No, you do. You do.
Really?
I think it's kind of like a flat fee or a flat rate. I don't dabble too much on the domestic side.
Okay.
That's the point that I would probably tag in my colleague Heather Fletcher to come in and
Yeah.
say a few words on that aspect. But we definitely pay, movie theaters. Definitely, they pay licensing fees. So
Okay. Okay.
there's definitely, now exactly how, there's probably some sort of reporting that happens
Hmm.
where, let's say, Jesus, what's that? AMC sends some sort of reporting, about, this is how many theaters we have, this is how many times we played this movie, yada yada, so on and so forth.
Okay.
But
Okay.
there's definitely some sort of reporting that happens,
Got you.
and
Okay.
that's not just, going to the movie theater, but you know Broadway as well, like theater itself.
Got
Um,
you.
that's another form of income as well.
Okay. So yeah, I learned something. Cause yeah, for whatever reason, I didn't know that. So that's dope. Mike Miguel says, I don't know where Mike came from. Miguel says, I like ASCAP, but if I decided to move eventually to Seesack, are you guys by invitation only, or how does that work?
Uh, yes, Miguel, we are invitation only. A few years ago, that kind of changed a little bit, where basically, you could submit your music to us. We would listen to it and decide if we wanted to allow you to join CSAC or not. That has changed over the last few years, and it's more of, we'll reach out to you, before you reach out to us, type of thing. Or if you have some sort of relationship, someone that you know has a relationship with someone at CSAT that can vouch for you, things like that. It, but yeah, ultimately it is by invitation. We would reach out to you.
Got you. Dope, dope stuff. Marshawn says, "Can you be a part of CSAC even though I am a part of another PRO?"
No, you can only be with one PRO at the time as a songwriter. As a publisher, you can be with as many as you want.
Got
And
you.
if you're going to open, like if your goal is to have your own publishing entity, or empire, then yeah, absolutely, you want to be signed up with every PRO on the planet, because you want to, you don't want to limit yourself to, oh, I'm only going to work with ASCAP writers, or I'm only going to work with BMI or CSAC writers. No, you want to work with all of them as a publisher.
Yeah, makes sense. Yep. Miguel says, "So is a placement portfolio enough?" So I guess in regards to getting CSAC's attention.
Um, Possibly placement portfolio. Honestly, it's your best bet is knowing someone already in the company, or knowing someone that knows someone in the company, something to that effect, that can again vouch for you, and maybe help you get your material into the right hands. Maybe you got a lot of things up and coming, or down the pike, anything to that effect. uh, Honestly, we're very selective. We're selective because we provide a type of service that's very personal.
Yeah.
You know, we want to know who our writers are. We don't want to just say, "Oh, we got 900,000 writers." No,
Yeah.
we want to be able to say, "Oh, we got Anthony, we got Bob Dylan, yeah, we got Neil Diamond, yeah, but we also got all these other folks, and we know them personally."
Yeah.
It's not just another affiliate, another writer. No, we want to get to know we want to get to know our affiliates. And so, since we're obviously not a huge society and not a huge PRO, we're very selective as to who we're going to let in, because obviously our resources are also small. But the reason they're small is so we can keep our overhead low and our payments high.
That makes sense. Yeah. That's been my experience as well. When the office was here, you had mentioned, the Atlanta office that was here some years back, and
Mm-hmm.
I made when I first moved to Atlanta. One of the first visits I made was to I went to my prior their office, and I think they were going through a weird like a weird transitional time, because she was just looking at me like, "Why are you here, bro?" Like, just confused. She pointed me to like an office in another city and was just like, "They have stuff going on. Like, check them out." And I was like, "All right, cool." But anytime I was in the CSAC office, literally it felt like a family, and like people
Yeah.
actually cared, no matter where you were in your career, right? And that was something that always stood out to me, in regards to just, you know, feeling like they just genuinely cared about,
We did,
you, your
dude. We
success,
still do.
Yeah, no,
We did,
absolutely.
and we still do. Even if the office doesn't exist here in Atlanta anymore, which it's still to this day still stings a little bit, because I started in that office around September 2011, November 2011,
Okay.
um, and was there till it closed in 2017.
Wow.
Um, yeah, and once that announcement was made, I was a little bummed because I thought I was going to have to move back to Nashville, and I had come to really love Atlanta,
Mm-hmm.
which I still do. And fortunately enough, they gave me the option to continue working from Atlanta, and so
That's dope.
I'm still here,
Nice.
luckily. So for all those that think that CSAC is not in Atlanta, we're still here. We're
We're
just
there.
quietly here.
They're in stealth mode.
we're we're in stealth mode, and I'm in ninja mode all the time. So Uh, but
Yeah.
yes, I'm still in the city. I'm actually looking forward to Music Biz. It's also coming through, I believe in March.
Nice.
Huge conference that people from all over the world come and attend, and I'm so happy that they're actually bringing it to Atlanta.
Yeah, man.
It's something that's really really needed. Any music conference in Atlanta is always, it's a good thing. It's a
Yeah.
good thing, and I really enjoyed the Shades of Sync because it touched on some areas that many other conferences don't even mention. They
Yeah.
don't talk about sync. They don't tell you, this is how you approach a room. This is how you potentially collaborate with other folks. That doesn't. That's not talked about in other.
Yeah.
So it was really, really refreshing, really cool to see you guys talking about that in your panels.
Thank you.
Very, very needed. So I encourage you guys to continue the mission and let me know in which way I can support it.
Absolutely, man. We appreciate that, and that's awesome to hear because that's like that's our mission, man. To just give people access to untapped opportunities and to not just keep regurgitating like the same information that everybody's heard already. It's like, okay, what are like actionable steps? Like, what are the things that actually move the needle? So that's great to hear, especially
Yeah, I like the
from
Q and
you.
A because in the Q&A that's when you're gonna really dive into so many different scenarios. What that person's going to the writer you mentioned earlier in Colombia.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has their own little issues in the industry, and
Yep.
being able to talk about it, share it with others, because it could happen to somebody else, and they didn't even think about that. You're like, oh my god, this could happen to me.
Yep.
I need to be prepared for things like this. So that was very, very cool to see that, and then having this platform as well. That it's huge and it's very much needed.
Thank you. Marquette says, with essay says, can they become publishers with CSAC now
Yeah,
at like any time?
yeah. No, you just have to contact the appropriate people, but yeah, you can.
Nice. Which makes sense because, like you said, like if you're a publisher, you kind of have to represent writers from all
Yeah,
different types of PRO.
absolutely.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
you don't want to limit yourself as a publisher.
yeah,
I mean, at the end of the day, if you're trying to gain a catalogs and acquire catalogs and become, a player in this huge game that we're in,
yeah,
then absolutely you don't want to limit yourself there.
yeah. Nah, I love that. And yeah, man, to go back to your point on just events and conferences here, man, I feel like there's Atlanta is so rich in talent, very diverse when it
Yeah,
comes to music. I know we've made our mark in the world and in the industry in terms of hip hop and trap and things like that. But like literally, you will come here and like hear all types of different styles of music. Just even with the submissions that we heard, even from the Shades of Sync conference when we had attendees like submit stuff, a wide range of talent, and it's exciting to see because I don't know why. I mean, there's some that are coming up. There's a few that are super dope, but I love to see more things happening here, especially in the TV and film industry. Because
yes,
like,
yes.
bro, like it's already here. Like they're shooting. They
And
shoot
it's only
everything
getting
here.
bigger. It's only
Yeah.
getting bigger. Like
Yep.
more and more studios are moving their productions out here. They're building their own sets out here.
Yep.
This is just the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah. So
It's
yeah.
expensive to film in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
It's
It's,
cheaper to
it's
do it here.
yep. Man, it's
And the talent's here too. The
yep.
talent's been here for years. And for years we used to lose the local talent to LA, to Los Angeles,
Mm-hmm.
or to New York because people thought, well, if I stay in Atlanta, I'm not going to get recognized. I'm not going to move forward. I'm just going to. I've been doing the same thing for years. Nothing's happened. But we're
Mm-hmm.
bringing that back now.
Yep.
We're bringing that back now. The film and TV industry has helped revitalize Atlanta and bring it back to where it should be, where it was, where it should be, where it's going to be.
Yep.
So We like you just mentioned, we did Atlanta did it with hip hop, they did it with trap, they did it with R&B. Now it's going to do it with TV film.
Yep.
It's only going to continue.
Indeed, man. So yeah, definitely exciting place to be right now and just watching things
Absolutely.
grow. So yeah, man. Listen, I don't want to hold you, man. I appreciate you taking the time to just hang out with us, answer some questions. For those who, just they want to learn more about either Seesack or yourself, like what's the best way to do that?
You can best way to email me. I mean, that comes to my phone directly 24/7.
Awesome.
International Royalties does not sleep. So um, that's the best way to contact me. Lezcano at Seesack.com. That's JLEZ as in zebra, C as in cat, ANO at Seesack.com. That's your best way to get in touch with me.
Dope stuff. Dope stuff. Man, listen, I appreciate it. And for whatever reason, I was thinking you were in Tennessee, but you're in Atlanta, man. So we'll definitely have to connect and link up, do the
Oh,
mutual show
absolutely. Please.
sometime,
Les.
man.
Yeah, absolutely. Would love that.
Yeah, indeed, man. Well, take it easy. Stay safe out there, and we'll catch up soon, bro.
Take care. Thanks for having me again. Y'all be well.
All right. You too. Peace.